are these people?
Speaking of justice, and in thinking about this, there's a lot more that I want to say about this. And shout out to Owen Jones for actually calling this out. And like I said, go subscribe to again. Shouldn't be surprised, and he has a YouTube channel. So definitely subscribe to him. But before we get to him, let's get to the story. So Nicaragua is suing Germany by the ICJ for their complicity in their mess in terms of what's happening in Gaza. What are they doing? Let's find out. So, oops. So this is a story from DW, where they report Germany presents defense at ICJ over Gaza's genocide claim. Nicaragua has brought Germany before the ICJ on charges of facilitating genocide in Gaza. Germany has rebuked the such claims.
I rebuke
Germany. Germany on Tuesday blamed Nicaragua for having a one-sided view of the Hamas-Israel war. Berlin was defending itself at the ICJ against charges brought by Nicaragua that its support for Israel enables genocide and breaches of international humanitarian law in Gaza. The head of Germany's legal team, Tanja von Schuler-Gletchen, said Nicaragua's case ignores facts and the law. She said the Nicaragua case was rushed, based on flimsy evidence, and should be thrown out due to the lack of jurisdiction.
Sounds like exactly what America claimed South Africa was doing. It's like word for word almost.
Right. They don't deviate from the script, but we know this.
Yes.
Where Germany has provided support to Israel, including in the form of export of arms and other military equipment. Hold on to that thought, because I'll share a little bit more on that later. The quality and purposes of these supplies have been grossly distorted by Nicaragua, she said. Unlike Nicaragua, Germany is not blind to the fact that Hamas also has obligations under international humanitarian law. No, they don't.
Hamas.
No, they don't.
Hamas.
How many times? I think we need to put that on.
Hamas. But Hamas. Hamas. Say Hamas. I could get that guy at the last ICJ trial.
Saying that on the sound.
The last guy at the ICJ trial. Just someone supercut that of all the times he said Hamas, 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 Hamas. Hamas.
Right, but again, Hamas does not have any obligations under international humanitarian law. Why, Reef? Why, Reef?
I vaguely remember this. Right, they're not state. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They do not control the resources, and actually the idea of calling this a war, because this is what we're hearing. It's like the Israel Hamas or Gaza Hamas war. Like the idea of war is that at least two parties have the manpower and the weapons to actually have the war, right? You cannot say, like, what does Hamas have as far as they don't have a military? They barely have any weapons, right? So
they got some cool dance moves, though. You gotta admit, they be stepping out there, dog.
Right. So so I can't call this like, and so notice that language is that they call it a war. It's not. Yeah. This is a straight up
Israel Hamas war, not genocide. Which whatever.
Right. No, so so we have to make sure that we're actually using the right terminology here, because it's not a war. Because that implies that these are at least two sovereign powers who have the means to actually have it, when it's really not, because Hamas doesn't own anything. They're not a state. They are not a military. So, but yeah, they're not a state. So they don't control the resources. So they're under no obligation under international law, really, to do anything. That's all on Israel. But funny how this is in a court of law, and this is what they're saying anyway. So,
Mm.
um, Nicaragua has asked the UN's highest court, also known as the World Court, for emergency measures to stop German military arms exports to Israel and reverse its decision to stop funding the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA. It follows a separate case in January when the court ordered Israel to take every possible measure to avoid genocidal acts in its assault, that's what I'm going to say, against Palestinian militants in Gaza after South Africa accused Israel of genocide. Israel has denied that its operation in Gaza amounts to genocidal acts, saying it is acting in self-defense after Hamas-led militants stormed into southern Israel on October 7th and killed more than 1,200 people, including around 800 civilians.
Allegedly.
On Monday, Nicaragua pointed out that Berlin remains one of the major arms exporters to Israel. According to the Stockholm International Peace Reserve Institute, Germany is the second largest supplier of arms to Israel after the US. The picture represented by Nicaragua is at best inaccurate, and at worst, it is a deliberate misrepresentation of the actual situation, Christian Tams, who is on Germany's legal team, told the court on Tuesday. He said no artillery shells and no munitions have been exported to Israel since October 2023. Okay, but you still sent them.
Mm-hmm. Right, and what about beforehand? What about before then?
Right.
Like, show me those receipts, dog. Bring me those books. I want before October 7th, too. You send shit before then? Where was that being? We've talked about this, like, ad nauseum, where, a ton of these military companies have been sending stuff to get field tested in Israel for a long time.
Right.
Show me those receipts. I know they're there. Like, okay.
TAM's added arms export licenses are set case by case and exceed international requirements. For every
Do.
license that is granted, the German government assesses whether there is a clear risk that the particular item subject to licensing would be used in the commission of genocide, crimes against humanity, or great breaches of the Geneva Convention.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Oh, that went back. Oh, no, that's fine. On Monday, Nicaragua argued that Germany is in breach of the 1948 United Nations Genocide Convention. More than 33,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children, have been killed over the last 6 months in Gaza, according to the health ministry in the Hamas-led territory. Various UN and other humanitarian aid agencies have warned Gaza is on the brink of famine. There can be no question that Germany was well aware and is well aware of at least the serious risk of genocide being committed, Nicaragua's Ambassador Carlos Jose Aguilera Gomez told the court. Nicaragua asked the ICJ to decide provisional measures in order Germany to immediately suspend its aid to Israel, in particular its military assistance, including military equipment, insofar as this aid may be used in the violation of the Geneva Genocide Convention and international law. It also warns the court to order Germany to resume funding to UNRWA in Gaza. But Germany's von Gledschen told the court that Germany remains the largest individual donor of humanitarian aid to Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
Germany is doing its utmost to live up to its responsibility vis-a-vis both the Israeli and the Palestinian people, she said. Her colleague Tam said Germany has resumed funding for UNRWA operations, a fact ignored by Nicaragua.
Okay.
But you also sent weapons.
Yeah.
So
and you still took it away.
Right. Feed me and shoot me afterward.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. Or shoot you before and then feed you, maybe.
Right. Probably. Germany's legal team argued that the ICJ could not consider Nicaragua's request for urgent measures as it has not ruled that Israel is breaching the Genocide Convention. So, kind of what you were saying earlier in regards to calling it plausible
Yeah.
that there is a genocide. This is the problem with that
Yeah.
wording. So, right, it's not formal now that they are doing it under the ICJ. So,
It's allegedly we're supposed to get another retrial of that. I don't know when. That was supposed to be like months ago, like a month ago, it seems. I'd have to
right.
go back and check, but you know, oh well.
How can it be said that there was a failure to ensure respect of a third state if the failure on the part of that third state to respect is not established in the first place? Another lawyer for Germany, Samuel Wordsworth, asked. Additionally, he highlighted that Nicaragua did not bring its complaint against Israel.
Hmm.
We've heard that before too. Nicaragua must establish that at least prima facie the court is able to exercise jurisdiction, and it cannot do so given the manifest absence of an indispensable third party, namely Israel, Wordsworth said. Another German lawyer said the case could not help to end the conflict. The situation in Gaza is unbearable. Too many lives have been destroyed, too many life plans shattered. We all want this to end, but this type of strategic legislation between proxies won't bring us closer to this goal, Ann Peters said. The court will likely take weeks to deliver its preliminary decision, and a bigger case could take years to finalize.
Okay.
And by then, there's going to be like what, close to 1 million dead, like there is in Rwanda right now. So Germany has been Israel's staunchest allies in the wake of the Hamas attacks.
Hamas.
Our own history, our responsibility arising from the Holocaust makes it a perpetual task for us to stand up for the security of the state of Israel, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said in days after attack. Remember this quote for later, this Holocaust quote, because it's
Okay.
going to come into play later.
Okay.
But Berlin has gradually shifted its tone over the last 6 months, becoming increasingly critical of the humanitarian situation in Gaza and speaking out against a ground offensive in Rafah.
Yeah.
So, that was from DW. Now we're going to go on to the BBC.
The big black. Oh, sorry, that's the other one. What?
No.
Yeah, the British
So,
Broadcasting Company. I remember.
yeah. This article is written by Matt Murphy. So this gives more specifics over how much Germany has sent in weapons. So Matt writes, Germany is accused of breaching the UN Genocide Convention by sending military hardware to Israel and ceasing funding of the UN's aid agency. Berlin rejects the claims and will present a defense to the International Court yesterday. Last year, some 30% of Israel's military equipment purchases came from Germany, totaling 300 million euros or $326 or 257 pounds. The allegations built on a separate case taken by South Africa in January, where judges in Hague ordered Israel to take every possible measure to avoid genocidal acts. The court also ordered Hamas to release all hostages taken from Israel during its October 7th attacks immediately.
But didn't talk about any of the detainees, but yes.
Right.
Also, Fred Edward in the chat reminds us that Israel was supposed to respond in 30 days. They didn't. No action was mentioned that I've heard about. February 26th was the date finding plausible released.
Yeah. Like I said, well, once that report comes out, if it ever does, we will definitely update you guys. But we were talking about that back in January, basically being I'm waiting, and it's April now. We still got shit.
Yep.
So, but anyway, Nicaragua says Germany's arms sales to Israel, which totaled $326.5 million last year, a tenfold increase on 2022, making it complicit in Israel's alleged war crimes. Components for air defense systems and communications equipment accounting for most of the sales, according to the DPA news agency. Here's something I thought about this, and I'm surprised no one has talked about this. I think I might have mentioned this somewhere. I think I might have mentioned this in maybe Savvy's chat, maybe over the weekend or some point. So we reported on the World Central Kitchen issue last week, where a drone essentially bombed the convoy, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Surely you should be able to figure out which drone hit it, right?
It's lost in the mail. Some it fell in the water. They don't have enough rice to dry it out. Something, I don't know.
Right. So, but my question is, who manufactured that drone? Right? Notice that nobody has talked about this.
Sure.
Like, find the drone, figure out who manufactured it, and then go from there. But but the mainstream media has not said this.
No.
Our government has not said this, and I don't even think anyone in our space has said this.
Well, they supposedly fired the soldiers responsible. Like, that makes any difference. Like that. So we handled it, guys. We fired them. It's cool. It's never gonna happen again. Meanwhile, happening all the time. So, but yeah.
Fred Edward in the chat said that drone committed suicide.
Flew into the Gaza Sea.
Flew into the Gaza Sea.
Oh, you mean the Gaza Sea where they've now allowed to people for oil drilling?
Yeah.
But, whatever. What do I know? People yelled at me that there wasn't any oil there. I'm like, yeah, you fucking idiots. Okay. It's just natural gas. Yeah, what's underneath that? How do you think natural gas works? Like, it's a cocktail of dead dinosaur. That's what all that shit is. And gas is on the top in a fucking underground reservoir. Anyway, welcome to science class, I guess. So...
Anyway.
It's really dead diatoms, but I digress. Ocean dinosaurs. Tiny little ones in the thousands.
Sure.
But, yeah. So, you have this picture.
Yep.
Hey, it's us. It's us. We're that us. That's
right.
us.
So obviously we send the most 2/3 of it. And then Germany, like 30% of it, and that last 5% is Italy. But
yeah.
So just to give you an idea. Well, we knew that, but yeah. Come on. Thank you. Germany was one of 15 Western nations which suspended funding for the UN's Relief and Work Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, over allegations that some of the agency's staff were involved in the 7th of October attacks in Israel. According to papers filed with the ICJ, Nicaragua wants the UN's top court to order Berlin to halt weapons sales and resume funding of the aid agency, one of the few international bodies that's still operating in Gaza. It says, in the absence of such measures, Germany is facilitating the commission of genocide and is failing in its obligation to do everything possible to prevent the commission of genocide. Speaking as the trial opened, Alain Pelé, I guess, a lawyer for Nicaragua, said it was urgent that Germany suspend continued sales. Germany was and is fully conscious of the risk that the arms it has furnished and continues to furnish to Israel could be used to commit genocide, he told judges. Berlin has rejected the allegations but has remained tight-lipped about its legal strategy ahead of the hearings. We note Nicaragua's lawsuit and we deny the allegations as justified, government spokesman Wolfgang Buchner said. Chancellor Olaf Scholz has been a vocal supporter of Israel's right to self-defense, but he has faced increasing domestic hostility to the continuation of arms sales to the country. On Sunday, a group of civil servants wrote to the German leader calling on the government to cease arms deliveries to the Israeli government with immediate effect. Israel is committing crimes in Gaza that are in clear contradiction to international law, the statement said, citing January's ICJ ruling. So this is from our friend Nick, and I know he reported on this yesterday, but he tweeted, the Nicaragua case against Germany at the ICJ is extremely important, and I feel like it's not getting enough coverage. Nicaragua is suing Germany for enabling genocide. The reason why this case is so important is because we get an answer to the question of what does the obligation to prevent and to punish a crime of genocide actually mean? Also, what exactly the obligations that follow from the Geneva Conventions and Common Article 1, which requires all states to respect and ensure respect for international humanitarian law, actually mean? The Global South is demanding answers from the West regarding international law. This case is huge because it sets the groundwork to hold people like Genocide Joe and his administration accountable for their blatant disregard for international law. So thank you, Nick. As I said, I know he reported on this on his show last night. So go check it out if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you probably did. But I wanted to bring this clip. So this clip went viral. So actually, don't play it yet.
Yeah.
So the two guys that were in that screen before, so that's Owen Jones. He's a British journalist, and then Hen Mezig, who is Zionist propagandist. Like, you probably have seen him on Twitter. So these two were on an interview with Sky News at some point last weekend, and parts of this interview went viral. I think Hen said basically to Owen, why should he care about what's happening, in Israel, like alluding that because he isn't Jewish that he shouldn't care. And then Owen, to his credit, responded, because I'm a human being.
Where a lot of the Zionists got the idea to go to Palestine is from the German neck of the woods during World War II. They were like, we don't want you here, so go anywhere else. Like, they pretty much sent Zionists over there. So, just to reiterate the responsibilities.
So that clip where Owen said that went viral. But there was another part of the interview that I don't think got as much attention that I think speaks a whole lot more of why Germany is involved. But from what I did see online, we're going to get into what he said, Zionists basically clutched their pearls as to what he was saying regarding Germany and why they are supporting Israel in the way they do. So Owen actually addressed this on his own show. This is where this clip comes from, and it's spliced in with his commentary based on this part of the interview where he says what he talks about Germany and their involvement and why they aren't. So let's hear from Owen.
In terms of arms, Alicia Kearns, the Conservative MP and chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, in a leaked recording said that the government had received legal advice that Israel was in defiance of international humanitarian law. What that legally necessitates is Britain ending all arms sales, but also ending all cooperation and sharing intelligence. Now, you're right, Britain doesn't supply that many arms, but if it ends arms sales, that then puts huge pressure on Germany, which has decided to make the Palestinian people pay for the grievous crimes it committed by attempting to exterminate the Jewish people.
Come on, have some decency.
And the second point,
I won't let you. The Holocaust will not be used this way. How dare you? You're not Jewish. Don't do that.
It shouldn't
really
be used.
Don't do it.
It shouldn't be used to force the Palestinians.
Even for you, it's a red line.
Shouldn't be used to force the Palestinians to pay for the Holocaust.
Now, in terms of, I think Hen believes that you are disparaging the memory of the Holocaust.
Of course, he just did.
No, I didn't.
I said Germany is making Palestinians pay for the 6 million Jews that were killed in the Holocaust?
Yes, I absolutely did.
This is absolutely disgusting. I can't believe
I stand by what I said because it's absolutely true.
Are you saying that Germany is supporting Israel because of what happened?
Yes, it believes it can make,
than punishing the Palestinians.
It believes Germany has decided it can make up for its obscene guilt by forcing somebody else to pay for the crimes that Germany committed. It's a very straightforward point. There's nothing offensive about it. It's a very
Of course it's offensive. I'm telling you it's offensive, and I'm a Jewish Israeli.
In terms of arms,
still will not take it back.
No,
because you don't care about Jews. Because you don't care about anti-Semitism.
You know what's interesting? I interviewed a German Israeli. I interviewed a German Israeli.
It's really,
and people should check that. I interviewed a German Israeli.
One person's opinion is not definitive. And I think I do need to.
They're shutting down Jewish people in Germany who speak about Gaza. The point about arms, which we were talking about, Israel has destroyed the medical system of Gaza. That itself is a genocidal act. There's no functioning healthcare system. They just destroyed Al-Shifa Hospital, the biggest hospital in Gaza.
It's been used by Hamas.
Now, well, you think everything's used by Hamas, so you could point everything to Hamas.
No. We can't make glib questions like that.
Okay.
There are Hamas infrastructure across Gaza.
According to every intelligence organization,
every single medical facility and hospital in Gaza has been attacked. That imposes a daily death sentence on everyone who has cancer, heart problems,
really impossible.
people who are pregnant, pregnant women who are having quickly.
No, I need to let Hen have a response.
Babies who are having their limbs amputated.
Well, okay, let's just have some basic facts here. These are the words, I'm now going to quote, of the German Chancellor, that is the equivalent of the German Prime Minister. Our own history, our responsibility deriving from the Holocaust makes it our permanent duty to stand up for the existence and security of the State of Israel. This responsibility guides us. The German state has never tried to hide the fact that it is unequivocally stood behind the State of Israel, including arming it to the teeth, in the current context, as Gaza's race to the ground, as a form of reparations for the grotesque and unprecedented crime it committed in the Holocaust.
Pause here.
The word.
So basically, Owen is saying, so he clarified and he basically kind of hit it home that Germany is supporting Israel due to his own guilt in their cause for the Holocaust. But he says reparations here. So that actually kind of sparked something. And funny enough, in the clip that he put out this morning, he clarified, he goes into that a little bit more. But it's interesting that he says reparations.
Yeah.
Because so in a sense, in Germany's mind, they are trying to atone for what they did to the Holocaust by sending them weapons.
Eye?
Right.
Like that's the cost.
Right.
You know.
So Owen's going to get more into this, but just hold on to reparations for a second, because I'm going to bring it back to something that we've kind of talked about on this show before. And especially
they were allowed to sue, right?
Who?
Well, the Jewish descendants or whatever were allowed to sue German train.
But we're not getting into that.
Yeah,
we're not going to get into that in that context. Trust me, it will make a whole lot of sense what I'm going to pull up. But it's going to be significant because, well, I'll get to it later. But remember about reparations. So, but keep going.
Worst crime in human history. The mass extermination by industrialized means of the Jewish people. And it should have made reparations. But those reparations are not being paid by Germany here. They're being paid by Palestinians. And Germany now justifies Israel's murderous onslaught publicly, as well as arming it to the teeth, as I say. Now, the response to a basic point that Germany is making others pay for the crimes Germany has committed, heinous crimes, has been mayhem on social media from apologists for Israel's onslaught, who have, in the most shameless and cynical way, tried to twist my words so that when I spoke of the obscene guilt of Germany, I obviously mean Germany's extreme guilt, its guilt for an obscenity, the Holocaust, they tried to suggest that I meant it's obscene Germany feels guilt. Makes no sense in that context, or even in general. What does it even mean? Who would ever say someone has, a sense of guilt that's obscene? It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, I was talking about the crimes, the heinous crimes committed by the German state in the Holocaust. That's what is meant by their obscene guilt. They rightly have an obscene guilt. That is, they are guilty of a crime which is obscene. That's what I was talking about. Just as they tried to do over the Jewish director Jonathan Glazer by twisting his words to mean something completely different. And all over social media, these apologists for mass murder have suggested I'm anti-Semitic, a disgrace, and I should be fired and driven from public life. For what? For saying that the German state has decided, not least as it arms a genocidal onslaught, that others must pay for the hideous crimes committed by the German state within living memory. It's simply a fact. It can't be rebutted. And I know it can't be rebutted because amidst all the outrage, no one sought to offer a counter-argument. There isn't one, because it's true, as the German state has publicly said itself. Why is this happening? I circle back to the beginning. Everything we said, that is those who oppose this crime of historic proportions, has been vindicated in the worst possible way. Mass killing, famine, unimaginable suffering, some of the worst crimes of the 21st century committed on a daily basis. And the apologists for this hideous onslaught, no public opinion has shifted drastically against them. They know they're utterly morally exposed for having legitimised and supported this crime of historic proportions. So all they've got left is twisting words, trying to turn the world upside down, to feign moral outrage and portray the opponents of mass murder as the real extremists. Well, that strategy, my friends, has run out of road. This crime's too big, too extreme, too unapologetic. Those responsible for it and those who've cheered it on know they're not getting away with it this time. So all they can do is lash out in the most cynical and indeed twisted way possible. Well, the lesson there is we're going to win this. But the tragedy is that it is not going to save the lives of so many. And we have to keep fighting to end Western complicity in this.
So, shout out to Owen for making a clear-cut case. Well, basically in the midst of the articles, like, he brought it home. Like, this is why Germany is doing their bullshit. Because they feel guilt. And he goes into it a little bit more. I think he tweeted this, I think it's today. Not today, within the week when I pulled it. But he says, Germany officially claims that protecting Israel's security is a form of reparations for the Holocaust. The problem is that Israel's interpretation of defending its security means at the expense of the rights of the Palestinian people, which Germany endorses. Germany should have paid vast reparations to the Jewish people. That doesn't mean reparations paid by people who are not responsible for the Holocaust, or indeed reparations which, in practice, means German arms companies making vast profits. So he links to this Reuters article where it states German military exports to Israel up nearly tenfold as Berlin fast-tracks permits. So
completely push back at that BBC article we read a minute ago. It was like, no, they're not. Nothing's happening.
Right.
And narrator, something was happening.
Right. So, as friend of the show Savvy says, follow the money. Because Germany is getting paid in order to send arms to Israel, in order for them to continue to be complicit, and also for them to say, in their way, we want to atone for what we did to you back in the 40s. Now, so actually, you could pull out the next tweet because, and actually, Owen said this in the clip that he put out today, and I was like, good point. So I tweeted today. So Germany can acknowledge the need for Jews to receive reparations for the Holocaust by providing weapons to nuke Palestinians, but crickets when it comes to atone for the crimes against Namibians. So I think you remember this. I think we talked about this very briefly at some point of how Germany basically stole land in Namibia, and there are German ancestors now who live there. Sound familiar? And took land from the indigenous Black people who live there, and now those Black people basically are like, we want to reclaim what's ours, and the white settlers are basically like, eat shit, right? So let's play this clip from African Stream to hear more about that.
They want the land back? How? If ever you wondered what audacity looks like, I need you to kindly go back to the video, listen to the video, and see and hear what audacity looks like, because that is the definition of audacity. She cannot understand why it is that Namibians would want their land back. She can't understand why they would want it back, especially considering how it is that they got this land. Then when you go to the end of the video, the gentleman at the end is a bit confused as to why it is that they will call the killing of 70,000 people a genocide, and that we should just leave them in peace because they've found a way to coexist with the indigenous people of Namibia and not make it, exact words, it doesn't understand why it is that they want to stir the pot. Now my question is to Namibians, the indigenous people of Namibians and them only. Would you like us to stir the pot? It's a question. Because you are the only people that can guide us on this. The genocide that has happened in Namibia by the Germans has not been spoken about enough, and that is why they're so comfortable. The Germans are one of the founders of genocide, and that is why they can't see anything wrong with genocide. The killings of the Herero and the Nama people and the ways they were killed is not normal. There's no form of death committed by another individual that, number one, is considered normal. But how you guys went about it. So I think the Namibians need to step in. The indigenous Namibians need to step in and ask the world whether or not you would like us to step in. Not whether the oppressor wants to say that he doesn't want us to stir the pot. No, sir, no. Let's wait for the Namibians to say, stir the pot, so that the world can know about the genocide that you think should be kept a secret forever. No, let's not hide your secrets. You are the inventors of genocide. You have committed most of the genocides in the world. Just because people don't speak about it does not mean that we don't know about it. We know what you've done to the Herero and the Nama people. We are aware of it. So to think that you can just comfortably sit in your 60% of the land that is not your land and then be confused when people ask for their land back. Don't get it twisted. It's their land.
Also, don't talk about where stirring the pot nameology comes from. One white people did that.
Right. I think I don't think we did a formal segment on this, but I think we should at some point.
Yep.
Because again, I think it's just kind of ironic, and I'm going to relay this to us in a second, but I think it's funny how Germany is very quick to be like, oh, we will give reparations to people who are just as melanated as us. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they're complicit in this genocide in Namibia at the turn of the century.
And that woman put it in one of our last segments. It's Holocaust was one of the worst atrocities ever filmed. Theirs wasn't filmed.
Right.
So, yeah.
And this one's not even, no one knows about this.
Yeah.
You know, you can make the argument that enough people know about the Rwandan genocide. I think that's our theme for tonight, just across the board. But no one's heard about this.
No.
Right. So I think that's more of a reason for us to probably talk about it soon. But I just think it's kind of funny, though, because I actually thought about this morning. The idea of reparations is going to come up at some point for the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not now, but in the near future, reparations is going to come up. And this is kind of where I kind of relate it to Black people here, because we talk about reparations here, and we talk about it, and people, even just regular people, are just like, fuck it. No, you don't deserve it. And this woman in this clip says it, like, you're coexisting with white people now. So what's the big deal? The big deal is yeah, we're coexisting with you, but there's still this crime that you've committed, like your not even necessarily your ancestors per se, the government instilled on my ancestors that has not been dealt with yet. So the government, and by association, the West, needs to atone for that. And you haven't. And I kind of blame, and I've said this before, I kind of blame religion that we have kind of been somewhat tame about this. Because if we were really walking in the revolutionary spirit of our ancestors, I mean, Black people are not liked much in this country anyway, but if more people started making a fuss about that, I don't think there would be a huge problem. But I'll bring this back to say, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was finish your thing.
I just think it's interesting, and this is what I talked about with Indy last week. The exceptionalism kills me. It's okay. Like, they'll give Israelis everything that and more that they can ask for in terms of in their right to their own land, essentially. But these countries are complicit in genocide in other countries where indigenous people live, and you're not talking about reparations for them. Right? So that's the fuck up that honestly makes me extremely jealous. And I feel like I have every right to be, because Israel has healthcare. We don't. Israelis, depending on who you are, can just go to Israel. I cannot go to Nigeria or Cameroon just when I want to. Like, I'm not necessarily recognized to go, like, I am from there, even though I have the DNA proof. You know? And Israelis, you don't need, like, they don't even test your DNA. So that's another fuck up right there. So, but I just think it's kind of funny that Germany is quick to say, oh, we want to atone for what we did to the Holocaust. But for Namibians, fuck no. For Black people in the West, fuck no. Like, so that's kind of like, and this is the issue that I also have, just to complete my thought, with FBAs and ADOS as well, because y'all talking about like, oh, we need reparations and all this kind of stuff, but you're so unaware of the need for reparations in other places that you're going to get mad at me for issues that are really make no damn sense versus the actual white supremacists that are the cause of our suffering. And you don't have, but you're going to have all this heat for me as an immigrant when I'm trying to fight for the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, and you can finish your thought.
Oh,
sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. I was gonna say that, you know, if you want to give Collin some reparations, you know, you can do it at codesv.com/IndieNewsNetwork. Scan the QR code on your screen or put !donate in the chat. YouTube demonetize us. Google's not gonna send Collin reparations, so gotta go other way. If you can't do that, just like and subscribe, hit the share button, leave a comment, you know, all the engagement stuff you gotta do. You know, go down there and hit the buttons. You know where they're at.